Hello, I'm Philip Brunelle, Artistic Director and founder of Vocal Essence and organist choirmaster at Plymouth Congregational Church in Minneapolis. I have been through these months thinking about all the composers who have had a role to play at Plymouth Church and at Vocal Essence, and it's been a thrill to know that there are so many great composers of the present and the past that have been heard inside these walls. Today, it's the American composer Searle Wright, Searle Wright, the M standing for Myron, which is, of course, if you're going to be a concert organist, you probably don't want Myron, so he was just known as Searle Wright. Born in 1918, passed away in 2004. Composer and organist, studied in New York City with the great Tertius Noble and also David McKay Williams. He was absolutely fascinated by the theater organ, and though he was also a pipe organist, he also then did theater organ work. So what's the difference? Well, they both have keyboards, they both have pedal boards, but the kinds of sounds that you get from one organ or the other is what makes that difference. Now, on the theater organ, there was a lot of use of tremolo that you had in the stops, but also unusual things. You could have a stop that was cymbals or xylophone, chimes. You could have all kinds of interesting little side effects, plus just general organ sounds that would go with it. And when Searle Wright came to Minneapolis in 1980, there was a big American Guild of Organists national convention, and he was asked to play a recital on a theater organ out in a pizza parlor in Richfield, Minnesota. And I remember that I went to that, and he was fantastic. He was a great organist anyway, in everything he did. But at the end of it, he said, I would like to close by playing my fugue on this melody. Hello, Dolly. It was fantastic. The audience went wild. I asked him afterward, have you written it down? No, I haven't. So unfortunately, it never was written down, so we only have it in our memory. In 1944, he became the organist in New York City at Church of the Chapel of the Incarnation. In 1952, Columbia University asked him to take over the music at St. Paul's Chapel on the campus, and he also then was a teacher at the School of Sacred Music, Union Theological Seminary in New York City. In 1969, he was the president of the American Guild of Organists, and in 1954, he was the first American invited to play a solo organ recital in Westminster Abbey. I got to know about Searle when I came to Plymouth Church as organist choirmaster in 1969. My assistant was a wonderful woman named Marlene Baver, who had studied with Searle in New York City. So she said, you should get to know some of his music. And one of them was a cantata called the Green Blade Riseth. Marlene had performed that piece with the choir and organ here at Plymouth Church. I've done several of the movements of it with the choir, and there is the second movement, which is based on an old text. The whole bright world rejoices now, hilaritor. The birds do sing on every bough. It's a wonderful piece for springtime. And you get this wonderful little melody. And that goes on while the voices come in. Charming, wonderful music. But he was a teacher as well as a performer. And one of the things I'm told that he would ask in a class is for them to write, for instance, a trio sonata. A trio sonata is where let's say the feet are doing one thing, the left hand is doing one thing, and the right hand is doing another. And some of the class went, oh, this is so difficult. Oh, how do you do that? And so, as the wonderful man he was, Searle Wright said, I'll go and write a trio sonata, and then you get an idea of what I want you to do. And so he took the familiar melody of Greensleeves and did a trio where you would have the feet doing, and then you might have in the left hand, you have and then the right hand doing something very different. And putting all that together was marvelous. I want you to hear it. So I'm going to go to the organ here at Plymouth Church and play his arrangement of Greensleeves, music of M. Searle Wright. Have a wonderful day.